Boom. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Live Connection podcast, the place where we talk about games, tech, and, everything in between. I'm Peter. I got Eric and Jared here. How's it going, guys?
Good. Good. I like how it's like anything in between gaming and tech. What is in between gaming and tech?
That's what you to figure out. It's not wrong. It's technically.
Well, I would like half the time. Very vague. Half the time we talk about movies, and I'm like, I don't know if movies fall between gaming and tech.
I feel like camera to record a movie, and that's technology.
What about Graydon's random questions for me about health that pop up? I don't think that falls in between those two.
How much poop is too much poop, Jared?
If you're pooping all the time, you probably need to go get looked at.
You heard it here first here, folks.
Look at.
Dr.Disrespect.
He's
first
back.
Topic. He's back and got more views than us without even being on screen.
Mm-hmm. He got over 500,000 views in that first stream there, which is crazy. I
just don't know.
Well,
go for it.
What I was more surprised about is that he actually made a statement on the Twitch ban he got, and it was just that, I don't know, dude, which is fucking nuts.
Yeah,
as one of their biggest exclusive streamers, and recently re-signed a contract, they just fucking pull the cord without any warning, and still after a month he doesn't know.
I think he said that there's big money in it or something.
I don't know.
There's
just be some legal shit coming down here.
It could have been something because he's streaming on YouTube now, right? So it could have been something like Google decided to buy him out from Twitch and make him stream exclusively on YouTube.
No, I
don't think so.
He had just signed a new contract with Twitch for exclusivity, and he's confirmed he's not exclusive with YouTube. He's a free agent right now.
Interesting.
It's really weird. That doesn't look good on Twitch.
There's just no answers.
They'll have to come forward with some explanation at some point, because that's too big for them to ignore.
No.
Not to mention it will save them. Maybe there is a good reason they did it and they just haven't announced it yet. But
that's what I'm hoping.
But because
I can't see. No, but it might be because they're worried he's gonna just go publicize it and twist it. It is a big legal thing, right? There could be things they're trying to figure out to cover their butts right now, because he is that big, right? He has a big enough fan base that he caused a lot of shit for Twitch if he decided to. So I feel like it's more along the lines of they're just trying to cover all their bases so that when they do come forward, it's not that he can turn it around on them kind of thing. Because I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't just do it because they felt like it. There's got to be a reason they did it. I can't see them, because that's a lot of money lost for them too. That's not just him losing money. That's them losing money as well, right?
Dr. Disrespect's going to come out of this really well, honestly.
Yeah, so I think
gotten publicity.
So I'm just curious what happened. There had to be something that happened that caused them to be no, you're done. We're done this partnership.
That's what I said when it first happened. I was whatever it was, it's got to be something big for them to just drop it. It's I would assume that it's not bullshit.
Yeah,
I would hope not.
It was in March. He signed a multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract with Twitch. For them to just shatter that's a lot of meetings. That's some executive decisions.
There's some lawyers involved in that shit.
Yeah. No, exactly, and that's kind of it. Maybe he violated a couple of their rules that they have, their major rules. Maybe it could have been taken down right away, and I don't want to smear anyone's name, because for all we know, it was just a misunderstanding between them, and that's what it was, and they just decided it was best to, Twitch decided it was best if they just parted ways for the foreseeable future. But it could have been something bad. Like it could have been something he posted. It could have been something that he had said, and they just were like, "Whoa, okay."
Well, because Twitch has a history of not being chill with their bans. Like they're not afraid to ban you.
Yeah, well, and it's like because they have an image to keep, right? Like they want to keep a respectful community. Like there's one thing joking around and being sarcastic and all that, but it's another to be, for example, like especially with things that are happening right now with equality. Like if there is some sort of discriminatory post, they're not going to mess around with that. They'll instantly throw someone off because it just looks bad on them. Not saying, and again, I'm not saying that Dr. Disrespect did anything like that. I don't want to smear anyone's name or anything. I'm just, kind of thinking of reasons why they would go to that extent instead of just like a slap on the hand saying no.
What I kind of assumed, obviously just speculation, it happened during like a lot of the sexual allegations that were coming out. So I was thinking maybe someone stepped forward to Twitch and brought it to their attention. That's like my best theory. But
I know
it could be, and that would also be why they haven't told him yet, because they'd be trying to figure out what's actually true and what's not true.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he was also spreading misinformation on COVID at one point too. I remember.
Yeah, he was talking about the 5G towers and all that bullshit. Yeah. Come on, dude, you're better than that.
You can't be doing that with 4 million followers.
I was gonna say, especially when you're influential, it's one thing to joke around and be like, whatever this is, but it's another thing to actually have a following that will most likely listen to what you're saying, which is the dangerous thing nowadays with media, right? Because so many people who have such an influence are all over the place with their what they're saying. There's no unity amongst it. I saw a really good post the other day, because a lot of the stuff where people are like, oh, don't do this, don't do that, it's because they aren't experiencing it firsthand. My sister, her friend is transgender, does a lot of equality posts and stuff like that, and really fights for that kind of activism. And he posted a thing, and person of color, and he posted a thing where it was like an African American child with white hands over its face for like the mask. And he said in his post, he's like, not wearing a mask is kind of like the racism right now. You're not experiencing it firsthand, so you don't think it exists. So that's really what it comes down to, and I feel like that's where all the misinformation is because no one really in our generations have experienced anything like this. Like we weren't around for the bubonic plague, we weren't around for the Spanish flu, we weren't around for a lot of the other major ones that struck. So I mean, it's of course as soon as something happens, I mean, it's just it's tough. Like if you have an influence, you should be trying to better the health of everyone, not miscommunicate information, especially if you don't have anything backing it,
Yeah,
it's hard. Because like on one hand,
don't need to be spouting conspiracy theories.
Like he's
exactly
a character, but that's not good enough justification.
Well, it's even like stuff we talked about with us, right? As Live Connection. It's like we have to kind of play that fine line. It's fine to joke about things, but maybe not when they're the height they are in the present moment.
When they're actively happening.
Yeah, then you have to pick your battles and be like, maybe it's not the best idea to joke about this.
If there's some sort of like oil spill in the ocean, I'm not gonna make my death to all turtles jokes. Like that's woo!
Like turtles.
It finally happened. Oh man. No, it's tough. It's unfortunate because I mean he was pretty entertaining to watch. Like he was very entertaining to watch, but it's just tough because you don't want to jump to conclusions, and because that can equally ruin someone's career, and it can harm the name of Twitch too, because Twitch is a pretty respected streaming service at this point. So it's like I'd say they're the respected streaming service at this point. So it's just like, I don't know. It's tough. I feel bad for. I want to say I feel bad for both parties involved in this right now because it's. I mean, I guess for Dr. Disrespect, like you said, it's helped him. Like he's coming out better than he was going into it, basically. And then you have Twitch, who unfortunately they're getting the back end of the stick on this one, where people are like, why would you ever do that? But I think people need to acknowledge that Twitch wouldn't, well, you'd hope Twitch wouldn't do it for not a good reason. Like, they had to have had a solid reason why they decided to go for that.
I think they should have announced a reason by now, because at this point, I think just speculation is worse for them. I think now, now that it's been a month, you need to say something. Otherwise,
even if it's not like giving your reasoning, just like be like, hey, we did this where our lawyers are talking about, we can't really discuss it right now. You'll hear about it at some point.
Yeah, because they don't want to, like, for example, if it was what Eric said, like, if it is something to do with that, then they wouldn't want to just outright slander someone's name until they had the full thing in front of them, and then they could be like, okay, this actually did happen, and then come forward with it.
Like, breaking news.
Yeah. Like, that's literally what it comes down to for most shit nowadays, is they spout things before they even get all the facts. Like, half the media, almost all news reports are literally within seconds of something happening, and they're like, did you hear? It's like the thing where after that explosion, which was super unfortunate,
nuclear bomb goes off in Lebanon.
Yeah. It was like that, or it was like the fireworks. Like, fireworks went off and caused this massive explosion. It's like, no, why don't you wait and actually hear what the cause of something was?
Get clicks.
Oh, it was just so ridiculous. And talk about, like, this is why it's so hard to get help to things when global incidences happen, because everyone's like, oh, well, it's a fireworks facility. Well, that seems like a you problem, instead of like, oh no, like, I don't understand it. It's crazy.
But then you
It's
bring
so
it up
stupid.
with like the Notre Dame Cathedral that burnt down, and people are like, donate now! We gotta fix it right now!
Mm-hmm.
It's because there's history there, Eric. Human lives don't matter compared to history.
The Hunchback.
There was history there. There is no longer history there. There is a crater in the ground, which is, I could not believe when I saw that video. That's devastating. I was in shock when I watched. I can understand why they thought it was a nuclear explosion. That looked like one. Like, that was insane.
It's rare where, like, legitimately my jaw dropped. I was just like, holy fuck.
Well, I remember, like, the first video I saw, like, initially it's just the smoke and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a fire. It's a little explosion.
Yeah, I was like, that's
whatever.
That was the explosion? Okay. That's fine.
Then the sound wave just
because you're looking at it, you're like, oh, that's unfortunate. Like, some factory's on fire, big plume of smoke, and then you just see like the quick drawing of energy, and then the release, and you're like, oh dear Lord.
Terrifying. And then you just see like all these different videos. I saw one. There's a girl doing her like wedding video where she's like in the street, like being like all pretty and stuff with her wedding dress, and then like suddenly the cameraman just starts running, and she's just like freaking out, and you're just like, because you just see like this plume of dust like take them over. It's like, holy shit.
Cloverfield.
They're really. I just couldn't believe. I mean, the amount of people that are injured in critical condition right now, the amount of people that are dead. I mean, the worst thing that about it is that it started out as a small fire, so it had drawn a bunch of people in, and then all of a sudden just goes boom, and then they're like, it's just so horrific what happened over there. But I mean, that just shows you more stuff where media just kind of takes it and runs with it, and then eventually you get to the truth, but it takes weeks after something happens to finally everyone's on the same page of what happens.
Stupid.
It's like, if people were more, I mean, I feel like people question a lot of different bodies of work, like big companies, political leaders, social media influencers, and they always are like, they're always all over the place. There's always rumors about this, or people are just kind of talking shit. And it's like, if media wasn't involved in a lot of stuff, like, it's good, it's essential because it gets news to everyone. But if like the bad medias weren't involved as much, I wonder how much people would actually start to, trust their bodies, like leaders and people who have a little more influence. Because I feel like a lot of the distrust comes from misinformation or just people not understanding.
And then people don't even understand half the time that it's misinformation.
Yeah, they'll take it for face value. Like, this is exactly what the truth is. I laughed.
It's the truth.
I had a friend. Well, not a friend, but I had my girlfriend's friend. Their boyfriend is big fan of CNN. Big fan. So every time we were having a conversation, and it was like every other sentence, like, well, I heard on CNN that this is the case, and I'm like, so you do realize like CNN's like the Fox News of Canada, where it's like it's kind of you gotta take it for, some stuff they say is okay, it's true, it's in line with everyone else, but you can't just look at one media body and be like, this is the truth, this is reality right here. Yeah, it was really funny. I always make jokes about that because it just made me laugh the whole time.
You gotta diversify your sources of information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's no one media source that is always going to be correct.
Otherwise, you're just in an echo chamber, and there's no point in that. You're just getting your own thoughts fed back to you.
This is why I have like 7 different weather networks for Calgary, because fuck, if I trust one of them, it's wrong, and then there's a tornado that's ripping through some side of Calgary.
Like take the average of all of them.
Yeah. All right, this one says 100% chance of rain. This one says 30. We're looking at about a 60% chance of rain today. We'll go from there.
Fuck. And then you can make your own weather network based off that.
Yeah. Mine's the only one that's close to accurate.
Then it's just a circle. You can't trust Jared's weather. It's never right.
The best experience I had looking at a weather app was this. So we were at the lake recently, and there's this massive thunderstorm. Okay, we saw the lightning in the distance as it was rolling in, and we were like, okay, so there's a storm coming. It said on my app, it was like on a couple of the apps, it's like, oh no, you're looking at like 3 millimeters of rain, whatever. I was like, oh, so it's just like a small one or whatnot. As the night went on, they kept increasing how many millimeters of rain we were gonna get by like 2. So it was like I look at it every couple like minutes, and it started at 3, then it was 5, then it was 10, then it was 22, and I was like, what the fuck?
4 feet of rain.
They're slowly increasing it. They're like, fuck, we done goofed. It's quietly updated.
Well, the best is they jumped it big at the end, and I was like, oh, so you guys didn't want to risk being wrong. You wanted to be like over predicting. No, I see.
We were wrong.
So it's so crazy. Oh, it's the best.
So
you guys hear that Mulan's going to Disney Plus? Just not going to theaters now?
Oh, the live action one that's based on the lore of it?
Yeah, like the actual, based on the actual fairy tale or folklore or whatever it is. Yeah. And it's going on Disney Plus for like $30.
Wait, what? You have to buy it on Disney Plus?
You have to buy it on Disney Plus, which it honestly makes sense because they're removing it from theaters. And, they're not getting a lot of their money. So the way I'm seeing it is like, you go to the movies with like a family of 4, you're going to spend like what? $80, I guess, on food and the tickets. But if you go just with Disney Plus, I guess, you're spending $30 to watch it with as many people as you want.
Do you get to keep it? It's not a rental, right? Like, it's yours.
I don't know. That I do not.
If it's a $30 rental, I'm with Peter. I'm going to start removing my glasses pretty soon.
I get it, but I'm still not happy about it.
It's the same from when I rented Invisible Man, like in February or March, like right when shit was closing down and you couldn't do anything anymore. I wanted to really see Invisible Man in theaters, so I couldn't. So it went on VOD for I think like $20 or $30. Still got it and watched it with my family, and that was worth it. Didn't get to keep it, but I was still really happy I got to see it.
So I just think for a streaming service like Disney, they could afford to just have you keep it.
If you pay the $30, you get to keep it as long as you're subscribed to Disney Plus. So if you end your subscription, you lose that movie, and if you were to re-get your subscription, you have to re-buy it.
Okay.
That's kind of dumb, but
I think they should link it to your account, not to like if you're subscribed currently. I think that's a little bit shady. I can understand them pushing because they need to keep people on their streaming service, otherwise it's just going to die off. So I can understand them saying, if you stop being subscribed, you can't watch it anymore. But to have to rebuy it after you subscribe again, that's a little bit of a shakedown on their part.
I mean, we're also talking about the company that made $13.2 billion last year. So they casual 30% of the overall global box office.
I've seen that like Disney did get hit hard by COVID. Like obviously they're still fine, but they lost like $4 billion this quarter or something. So I think they're just trying to like make that up somehow and like figure out ways to like retain.
Well, they're making some money because they made money off of Jaws being in theaters. I went and saw it.
They made some money off of Disneyland being open for like 3 days.
Yeah, I saw Jaws with Bobby the other night. It was worth it. $5 movie. Honestly, it wasn't too bad. I haven't seen Jaws in a while, and I watched it again. The acting on that, some of it is not great anymore, but the jump scares actually hold up super well because they utilize the sound effects so well that it just causes that jump scare. Like, you guys have both seen Jaws, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So you know that scene when they go to there's a boat just floating in the water, and then the guy gets in as a diver and he like goes underneath to see what's on the bottom. And the guy's face comes out from behind, like comes out of the hole essentially when he's down there. I knew it was coming. And I still fucking jumped because the music startled me when they had the loud noise come up. So I was just like, it was worth it. It was worth my $5 that I went to go watch that.
Jaws is considered one of the best movies of all time.
It's got one of the most iconic noise, like sound effects in the world with that da-na. Nah.
Yeah, the score is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The first scene, the opening scene where it's the girl in the lake, or not the lake, the ocean, and she's swimming. Apparently, that's all shot during the day.
Oh,
that's crazy. So they used a bunch of lighting effects effects after, like edit effects.
They just made it dark through editing, which is very common in movies, but usually you can kind of tell. When
that one legitimately looked like nighttime.
Yeah, with Jaws, you can't tell at all. Especially and apparently they wanted the shark. They wanted the shark to be in the movie a lot more, but they had a lot of like technical difficulties. So that's why it kind of turned out the way it was, where it's like you focus more on the characters. Like that scene in the ship where they're all just kind of becoming friends. That's kind of like a result of them not being able to show off the shark as much.
I feel like that's common in those older movies. They had to rely a lot more on like the suspense and stuff to carry the jump scares, and the sound effects just aided in those jump scares. But I almost find those better. Like there's a lot of horror movies nowadays where it's like you see the thing right in the beginning and you're just like, like I've seen it. Like there's nothing, it's not super scary anymore because I know what it is, and it's just like
the music gets quiet, and then you're like, oh, a jump scare's coming.
Yeah, it's like, look at Paranormal Activity. The first one was really cool because it was unique. It was different. It was something new that hadn't been done a lot with horror movies like that. And then the second, third, fourth, fifth one were absolute trash. Like the second one, you don't actually have anything happen until the last 10, 15 minutes of the freaking movie. So the whole time you're sitting there, they'll flash the camera at night and a pot will slightly twitch, and then it's daytime. Oh. So it's just like, I don't know. I really enjoyed Paranormal Activity 1, but I like that. I like when you don't necessarily see it because it carries the suspense. So I mean, as much as they would have been mad that they couldn't show the shark, I thought it added to Jaws, to be honest. It added to that suspense because you never really saw the shark. You'd see the fin and then occasionally see the face.
Steven Spielberg has said that he's like happy that it turned out the way it did.
Yeah,
I've been watching a lot of like horror movies and reviews, and the type of like horror movie I like the most is like, it's not all about the jump scares. It's like they don't show the monster or whatever for a long time, but then like when they do, like for me it'd be like I'm sitting in frame and then the monster is just like they don't point it out or like show any attention to it, but it's just like right there in the corner, like the whole time. Like if you look, if you look there, you'd see it, but if you're not paying attention, you wouldn't know. Yeah. This happened in, I think, Hereditary, where like wide open shot of the kid. He's like sitting on his bed and he's just like looking around, and his mom's just in the corner on the roof, like, and you're like, I remember when I saw it in theaters, the two people I was with didn't see her at all, but I was just like staring at her like, oh, okay, what is she doing? And then she just like flies off, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? That's what
I still say one of my favorite horror movies, and they did a similar idea where it's like they wouldn't make things blatantly obvious, but their occasional time they'd show them would be very impactful, was the first Conjuring. I really enjoyed that. I also had read like the original case about the family that died, which is really interesting because it's loosely based on a true story about people who, like, a whole family just died in the house, and they still to this day haven't really solved how or who or what did it, so they don't really know. But I thought that movie was super well done. Like it was a well done movie. It had good jump scares. It didn't oversaturate it with jump scares. That's another thing that gets really boring, is when they just do cheap jump scares and they just are like, here's a cheap jump scare, go for it.
Yeah. We have a horror
James Wan's considered like one of the best horror movie directors, because he also did the first Saw. He did Conjuring 1 and 2. I know he's done like a bunch of stuff, and
Conjuring 2 is good too, because I guess that's based on a true story too. I didn't realize that until I looked it up as well.
Yeah, it's based off the Enfield poltergeist, which is it has more credibility than some of the other places the Warrens went to. The Warrens only were actually at the Enfield house for one night, not like in the movie they're there the whole time. They're actually just there for a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's really neat that way. I mean, I liked how you don't see this very often in horror movies, but they did character development in the Conjuring universe with the nun, where the nun wasn't necessarily supposed to be like a super scary movie, but it was explaining where the nun came from, because it just all of a sudden shows up in half their movies, and you're like, what the fuck is this thing just all of a sudden here?
Apparently the nun wasn't even supposed to be in the Conjuring 2. There was just like a last minute scene. So then they make a universe out of this character, and apparently the nun movie was even shit.
It was not great. It was not like, it had, again, cheap jump scares. It tried to play off The Conjuring, but it didn't do a good job of it.
The only one, like, spin-off one I've seen that was good was Annabelle Creation.
Yeah,
that one was actually really good.
But the history of that doll's like fucking terrifying when you read about the actual doll. I hate those dolls. There is I used to watch that. I don't know if you guys ever saw it on TV. It's called Destination Truth. And basically, the guys would go around. They try to essentially prove things were fake. Like they would do their best to that was their whole thing. Like they were like, no, we don't want to prove things are right, because then you get all the people being like, oh, it's a fake show. They're just doing whatever they want to do, kind of thing. But they were trying to prove things were wrong. I mean, they still got people saying it was a fake show, but they tried to prove things were wrong. And they went into this one haunted house, and upstairs was just a wall full of those porcelain dolls like that. I fucking cannot handle that. I hate I don't even care. I just hate if I go into a room, I feel like they're watching me. Like, it's just absolutely terrifying. No, I can't handle it.
The real Annabelle, if you see it, it's not scary. It's a fucking Raggedy Ann doll.
Yep.
Who cares? Yep. That's the opposite of scary to me. You see it and you're like, okay, fine. And the more I hear about the Warrens, the more I'm kind of just like, I think they were scam artists, not paranormal investigators. So who knows how much of the Annabelle stuff was actually real? Because I've been listening to a lot of conspiracy paranormal podcasts where it's like they have skeptics and people who want to believe. So it's kind of like in between, and you hear a lot of the like bullshit parts of these paranormal stories. Like the Amityville haunting, that the dude wasn't haunted. He was just really high on heroin and shot his whole family. That's it.
Spooky.
I remember I wonder if I can find it again, but there was this one, you know, the death forest in Japan? No, China. Because the suicide forest is in Japan.
Oh,
No.
that's
The suicide forest. It's they call it the death forest because in the center of it there's just like a place where no trees grow, it's just grass. Like they just it's completely there's a whole forest around and then just a circle.
Okay.
And it's rumored that it's like a portal to the underworld through their history and lore. Mm-hmm. And it's notorious for like paranormal sightings and people having experiences when they go there. And a lot of people have died just being there. Like they'll die of random heart attacks and stuff like that. One group went to investigate it. And they were another group that was like kind of similar to what Eric's podcast are like. Like some of them are very skeptical when they go in, and some of them are pretty hardcore believe like this is reality. They were pretty prominent, and then they ended their whole show after that experience because two of them ended up in the hospital from that experience, and they never disclosed why. And they weren't like before. They weren't like, oh, this is our last season or this is our last episode or whatever. They just like hard cut it. Like that was it.
Like, this ain't worth it.
And I just know I'd be like, I've always been one that I kind of want to go to places. Like I love going like in Calgary, like the Prince House is notoriously haunted. And I mean, it has more stories. They've had security guards quit Heritage Park because of it. They've had some freaky stuff happen like that. And I would love to like spend a night there. I'd be shitting myself the entire time, but I'd love to spend a night there. The only issue is they have porcelain dolls in the upstairs in the kids' playroom, and if I walked up there, I'd look at them and probably start crying, and I'd be in fetal position when they found me in the morning. But it'd be cool to like I've gone to a few of them. They have like there's a Manners house over in Kenora that's notoriously haunted. It's been on a few paranormal shows. I just find them cool to go to. I don't know if I'd want to investigate them because I have no proof that it's real, nor is it fake. So it's like, but if it is real, I could get really fucked up if I go and sit inside this house. So
I was about to say,
I really don't
people die in horror movies.
Yeah, right. Is because they're curious and they're like, oh, it's this is this. But it's because I was talking
like a Ouija board, like.
I won't never know. We found one.
I'm not gonna touch that shit. It's not. I don't know if it's real or anything. It probably isn't. But if it is. That's not worth it.
we were cleaning out the cabin, and our cabin was built in 1918. We found an old ass wooden Ouija board inside the cabin, and Graydon was like, oh, we should try it. I was like, you're not fucking. You can go way off into the Badlands to fucking try this shit. I was like, I'm burning this thing
into your soul, but I'm not doing that.
No, I am the same way, Eric. It's like I don't care. I have no proof either direction. But if it is real, I'm not fucking dying because of some stupidity.
Well, it's just like my sister. Not only when she was younger, like kid young sort of thing, did she use a Ouija board, but she used it in a cemetery.
No.
Like using it is already like,
I won't even do the fucking Bloody Mary thing.
It's like no, but it's like, what if it's real? Like you'd be dead. You're dead. You do it, you're done. That's it. That's the end of the story. If you luck out, it's a nice ghost that just is like there to haunt around for fun. Like I always said, I was like, if I ever pass away, I kind of want to be a ghost just to mess around inside a house and like spook people slightly. Not be mean, not hurt them in any way, but just be like, they'll be like sleeping and be like, knock over the candlestick. Ooh, what was that?
Change their
I'd want to be like
sensitivity.
I'd be like Casper, and I would just like play ball with the homies, hang out.
Yeah, what's that European lore? It's like it's in The Conjuring 2. It's like the Twisted Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That lore. If you ever read the actual like origin of that folklore, it's actually pretty interesting. Same with the Candyman lore. That's pretty interesting as well.
It's always super cool.
But it's like they say, right? All legends and folklores are born from some form of truth. Like they may not be 100% accurate, but someone didn't just walk around and be like, "There's like for for Bigfoot, for example, oh, there's a big hairy thing with a big foot walking around. Be careful."
Why can't that be a thing? People are dumb. People like saying dumb shit.
No, because they usually will come but to have that many people come with that reality. Right? Like it's one thing if one person's dumb and he's like, "Oh guys, guess what?" He goes into town, he's like, "I'm gonna fucking be the biggest talk of town. I saw a big foot out there." And then a bunch of people see it like hundreds of years later. Like there's always like a fraction of truth to the folklores.
Yeah, I can just totally see people like coming up with a story or fabricating something, and then that's it. It just fucking grows like wildfire as people spread it. It's like back in the day, before the internet and stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of those stories, their purpose, I think, is to like scare the shit out of kids and be like, if you do this thing, the bad man will come get you. And it's supposed to be, oh, okay, well, I'm not going to do that anymore.
It's like the ones where they're like, there's monsters in the ocean. It's like there could be, because there's unexplored areas of the ocean, and I mean the dinosaurs were a thing. A lot of the creatures in the sea did survive, where the bigger dinosaurs didn't. Mm-hmm. So it's like they're just smaller now. Like look at crocodiles. Crocodiles used to be like a fucking bus walking down the road, and now they're a lot smaller. So it's I feel like some of the lore could very well be true, just because of like the fact of evolution, how some things do survive cataclysmic events.
Scary fish is a great point. Maybe that's what I'll just tell my children, rather than like the boogeyman or something. I'll be like, this is an angler fish. It's gonna come eat you if you don't go to bed.
Listen, if you're swimming. Hey, if you're swimming and if that fish came up to you, I know the best thing about it is I believe they're like that big too. I don't think they're very big at all. But if something like that came up, their teeth are like the size of their entire body. No mind that. There was a fish when we were in Mexico one year, and I think it was just a big, like, I don't know, it was a big, like, huge fish. It had, and I had, like, my family can clarify this. It's not just me being like shocked by something big. But it was this big fish. It was roundish. It was probably, if I was to stand up, I would be the diameter, maybe a little bit taller than me would be the diameter of that fish. And it was like how Acamel is organized. It's like a big kind of reef barrier around the bay. And then there's like a boat opening where boats will come in and out, and they can, like, big boats. So it's pretty deep there. It's like, I'd say you get down to like 50, 60 feet at that opening. In that opening, that's fit because we were just snorkeling around, and in this opening there's just this, I didn't see it right away, but there's this big black fish that was sitting there, and I shit you not, this is not my imagination, everyone who was there with me can clarify this. It had red eyes, and it had these teeth that were like I could see how big they were. That's how big they were, and I was probably 40 feet away from this fish. And I was like looking at this. It didn't attack us or anything, but I just about shit myself looking at this fish. I was like, that's a demon fish. That is, if I've ever seen a demon fish, it's this fish right here. I'm more scared of that than any shark that is coming through those waters.
That's like flight mechanics for me right there.
Well, that was what happened with the barracuda. They were feeding the barracudas in front of us, and they threw one, like a piece of fish, right in front of me. I didn't even have a chance to react before that fish had like chomped down on that bait. But as soon as I reacted, I was like drowning my dad to get away. I was like, oh my god, get away.
No, fish are scary, man. There's some monsters out there.
Well, I was even saying, because some people are scared of open bodies of water, and some people are scared of just like not knowing what's underneath you, like in lakes, because they're dark, so you can't really see what's down below, or oceans if you're deep enough and it just like goes into darker blue as you get deeper. Yeah. I made a comment the other day because I was like, when we're water skiing, for example, I hate when something touches, because at our cabin, we'll usually sometimes, or we'll try to start in the bay because you get a smoother water start, but there's some weeds in the bay. I hate, like I can snorkel around the weeds and be totally fine. I hate when something touches me and I can't see what it is. I know what it is. I know it's a weed. I know it's not something, but I hate not being able to like look at what is touching me.
Your brain's
But
like,
what if it's a demon hand trying to grab you and bring you under?
Right? Oh, no. I can't handle it. I understand that fear, but that's like I'm not scared of open bodies of water. I just strongly dislike when something touches me and I can't see what it is.
Yeah,
you need a safety.
That just makes sense.
There was a really scary. You want a scary fish in situation? So the blue whale, I believe, is the biggest fish in the ocean. Right? If I'm correct.
One of the whales.
Anyways, it was the one that they always talk about where they open up their mouth and it like basically creates a vacuum suction into their mouth and it has like the brushes for teeth and shit like that. We were in Australia and we were diving, and they have pods of blue whales that are around there all the time, like throughout the year on that point. And I was just diving and I was, minding my own business. We're on this one reef that's kind of out in the middle of, it's called Julian's Rock. If you look it up, it's a really, really notorious diving area in Australia. And apparently though, it's super rare to see blue whales like around the reef. You can see them way off in the distance, but it's rare they come near the reef. I just about crapped myself because we were diving and I was looking at my friend in the water. And all of a sudden I see like the expression on her face is just like, holy crap. I look behind me, I shit you not, like I was maybe 6 feet from the eyeball of a blue whale, and I've never pooped myself because I'm pretty sure I'm about the size, I'm like the size of the eyeball. Like I'm literally a minute gnat compared to this whale. And apparently the guy in the boat was trying to ring the bell to warn us to like get away from it so that it couldn't, but we didn't hear the bell. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, I turn around, I'm like looking in the pupil and I'm like, oh my fucking God. Like luckily they're docile fish and they're not there to harm you in any way.
Trying to kill you.
It's like,
yeah, so I was just like, but I've never been humbled at the size of nature until I was in that situation.
It's like you turn around, you see the whale, then boss music starts.
Yeah, pretty much. I was waiting for my death. I was just like, nope, this is where it ends, right here.
I was thinking of Monstro from Pinocchio.
That's an evil
yep.
whale.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was ready. Like there were sharks around. There was a tiger shark down below, but apparently they're pretty docile as long as they're not as long as there's other things around and it's not just you and them. They won't come after groups in numbers from what the guy told us. So maybe that was complete bullshit, or maybe it was true. I don't know. I'm no marine biologist, but
true.
I was less scared of that shark swimming around below us than I was of that whale, even though I knew that there was more of a likelihood that the shark would attack me than the whale would ever attack me.
Oh, it's just the pure scale.
Yeah, like it was enormous. I've never been around something that big. That was crazy.
Now you know how I live my life, Jared.
Peter turns around. Ah!
Oh, it's just Jared.
It's just Jared.
Oh, man.
That's fucking stupid. Comedy. We need like a button that's like that, where you have like it's that was easy button from Staples. You need like that's comedy.
Then followed by like audience laughter.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Yeah. Woo!
Yeah, if we ever get a big enough fan base, that's going to be our first piece of merchandise, is a button that says comedy.
Need like one of those little ropes that you pull, like balloons come down, like a banner that just says comedy.
Oh man, that'd be funny during like a stream. You just did that. Like Peter makes a joke, he looks at the camera slowly, and then all of a sudden pulls down big sign.
I ripped down the live connection banner. There's another one that just says comedy.
We almost need to rig it before we do something in person as a group, and then just scare the shit out of everyone after you make a joke. That would be funny.
The whole stream just gets derailed.
Oh, it 100% would. That whole stream's gone. Whatever your plan was for topics is no longer the plan.
It's gone.
That sign is now the center of conversation.
I have to reach like a threshold of comedy, and then I can pull that.
Yeah, that is accurate. You aren't allowed till then.
Oh, man. What
man,
else is funny? Fallout 76
What?
is still adding new content somehow.
Well, I mean, I talked to you guys about it, right? Like I was talking to you guys, um, about doing that video that I want to do, where I want to take basically people who have not played it and like Eric, who has played it a little bit before they did the updates.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to do almost a tour because I got a decently high level character. I'm going to raise it a little bit because I mean, in my private world, things should scale to the average player. And that way I'll be able to handle it. If we were to do like the open world, the issue is things scale to the average player of the open world. So if there's players who are like level 300 and something, and then here's me level 29 walking around, a lot of the time I'll run into things that are way overpowered for what I can do. But in my private world, it should scale down to me. So it's like anything we run into, I can handle it. But I'd like to see people's experiences, like do a tour of the different things and get like some honest, true opinions of it, and do a video on that. So I think it'd be cool. But yeah, ever since they did that Wastelanders update, like the people who have hated the game have always hated it, but the fans who are actually been playing it the whole time are really enjoying the content they're putting into it. Like a lot of people, there's a lot of haters who don't even want to play it because of the first experience was just so sour. Like it was just horrible, the first experience playing. Like Eric and I played it, and I think the entire time we're like, man, I wish there was more than just this empty world that I could do stuff in.
Yeah.
I remember when you played the beta and you were like, yeah, it feels empty right now, but you know, when it launches, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. And then No, the world, like the map looked pretty.
No NPCs is boring.
Well, the game, like what was Fallout? Fallout 1, 2, and 3, and New Vegas. I mean, Fallout at its core was an RPG. That is what Fallout was from the very beginning, was an RPG. And that's why people hated on Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. I mean, Fallout 76 they hated on for a lot of reasons, but Fallout 4 they hated on the fact that the game itself was not bad. The combat was better, the map was pretty, the like things were good in it, but the RPG was completely removed from it. Like they forced you to be the good guy. You could be a bad good guy, but you were still forced to be the good guy in there. You didn't really have anyone react. Like you could go join the Institute and walk into Diamond City and people know that you're part of the Institute and they'll just be like, oh, you're part of the Institute. And you're like, yeah. But it's like in other games where it's like Fallout 3, like if you got good karma, if you're super high with your good karma, the slavers, you'd have to do like 4 or 5 quests just to join their ranks to get a few extra caps doing slavery. Or to enter buildings or camps, you had to have certain kinds of interactions with the world to change that. Like, I mean, Three Dog, for example, if you were bad, he would just basically slander you. It's like, oh, the big bad lone wanderer walking around again out there. And it's just, they'd lost that element. And that's why Fallout 4 got shit on. But Fallout 76 is just, I don't think, they made it better. They brought back some of those RPG elements with the Wastelanders DLC, but not enough. I mean, it's hard to do that for... MMOs should not be RPGs to begin with. I mean, the exception being Star Wars: The Old Republic. That's probably the only MMO that I know of that did a good job with choice-based gameplay, where it's like you actually, because they kind of have dual things going on. They have like the MMO world, but they have a dual-sided single-player story that you're doing. So it's like your choices are impacting the world around you. It's just they won't have direct impact outside of the story it's a story arc that you're playing. I feel like if Fallout 76 did that, it still would have been better because they still would have had that RPG element. Whereas right now it's like I haven't played much of the Wastelanders DLC because I actually got scared. Someone gave me these gifts and I had like 100 of them and I thought they hacked the game and I was like, oh boy, did I just fuck up? But it was fine. We're good. I just got a lot of random decorations now.
Cool.
But I think I want to see what people's honest opinions are because I haven't played enough of the DLC to even to even say that it's bad or good. Like I haven't. I've done some of the RPG elements in the beginning, which were better. Like they went back to the thing where it's like what it says is actually what you say, not like Fallout 4 where it has like 3 words and then you say something completely different from what you thought you were going to say on it. And there's modders that have fixed that. One of the mods that I've used in Fallout 4 before basically gives you a box and writes out exactly what they're going to say. And then it also will give you some extra options that make it more like Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas that way. But I do want to do that video because I am curious. Like they are adding stuff, and their fans are happy that are currently fans of the game. It's not a true Fallout game, but it's also not like it got a bad rep because of its initial launch. The initial launch fucked that game, and it's their own fault.
The initial launch and like the steps following it, where they should have tried to fix it, it kind of just it just like, destroyed goodwill.
They should have immediately announced Wastelanders DLC. Immediately should have announced it, because that was the number one complaint from people was like, this world is empty. I'm sick of running into robots that are saying, I hate doing quests where I'm doing it for someone who's technically dead. Why am I doing this quest? Like, it's like, do it for the responders. It's like, oh, I need help. It's like, who the fuck are you? You're dead. I don't need to help you at all. Like, why am I doing this quest line for you? But with the Wastelanders DLC, they changed that. So now, your quests are based around people, and they're constantly updating the quest lines and events. And the events are pretty cool. Like, there's some wicked mechanics they incorporated, which I hope they kind of incorporate later on. Like they took the settlement building and made them, and like the camps were all aside. That is what it is. It's kind of a meh system. I like that you can build anywhere, but they didn't make the world understand how you could build anywhere. Like Eric and I talked about this in Grounded the other day, where it's like you can't build into something, whereas in reality, if you're building a settlement, you could dig that area up and put a platform there, right? Like it's not unheard of. They kind of did a similar idea in Fallout 76 where they made it so you could camp anywhere. Like you could build your settlement anywhere, but doesn't mean the world would acknowledge you're building it anywhere. Like it wouldn't handle it very well. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I want to see what people's what people think about it now that they've released a bunch of updates, now that they've added the Wastelanders DLC, because it did make it better. Regardless, like I understand the animations are still the typical old Bethesda engine. Like they haven't updated the engine, but I mean the cost for them to do that now for Fallout 76 would just be stupid. They would lose so much money if they updated the engine while the game was released, because no one would go back and play it. It doesn't matter how pretty they made it. No one would go back and play it at this point. They're looking at, okay, what's next? What is your next thing that you're going to bring forth to me? And I mean, with Obsidian putting pressure on them, it's tough. Like Bethesda has a lot of pressure right now. They kind of apparently, I looked it up the other day, and they did do it. They removed all of Obsidian's trailers from their YouTube channel. Ooh. So I think it's kind of like basically a piss fight right now of who's the RPG kings. Wow. And I will agree with one thing. Outlanders was, it was Outlander. No, what was it? Outer Worlds. Thank you. Outer Worlds was super fun. I really enjoyed it. It didn't seem detailed. It was still not to the degree of like Fallout New Vegas or something like that had that kind of customization of your experience.
But they were also
good
clear.
For establishing the world.
They're pretty clear, like what the game was. That it was like a smaller experience,
and that's the difference. And I think that's where Bethesda goes wrong, is they market everything like this, like a certain experience. Like when they marketed 76, they marketed it like, okay, this is Fallout 3, Fallout 4, but with multiplayer. And everyone was ecstatic because that'd be so fun. Like, what would have made the Fallout 4 better would have been, okay, I could have 4 friends that could come into my settlements and we could go on an adventure together, and it would just make the game more difficult. But then they marketed it like that, but it wasn't that.
But then they brought in Battle Royale.
True.
Oh, fuck. I don't even
fix it with that. That's right. I forgot that. Well, I
hate everything.
I remember that E3 when it was announced. I remember you just being speechless, Jared. You were like flabbergasted. You were like, oh, my wishes have been answered.
Well, because I've said to you guys many times, it's like I really wish that Fallout 4 we could play as a group, like have 4 of us playing it. It doesn't need to be an MMO. Fallout is not an MMO. The Elder Scrolls Online, they did a good job after they fixed a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Fallout didn't need that. It's not the same game.
Money.
So it's like I would have rather they worked on something like Starfield. Like, where the fuck is Starfield? They announced it. It's supposed to be this grand RPG that they're releasing, and we've heard nothing besides they had one time at E3 where it came up Starfield, and then nothing.
Did Bethesda like skip out on like E3 this year?
Yeah, they didn't do anything. They do like their Bethesda weeklies or whatever, or monthlies or whatever they are. On their own YouTube channel, they'll do like what's new coming out for them. But that's about it. It's more like updates for Fallout 76, if I'm being more honest. It's just like they'll acknowledge players who are in the game, which I kind of like that. I like that they're acknowledging the community who is playing it. But I don't know. They need to do some shit because it's not.
I bet
it's not.
They're in damage control mode. They're probably going over like Starfield and whatever. They must have a new engine for Starfield. They must. There's no way they're using the same engine for the next game. I would not. I can't even tell. They're done in my eyes if they use the same engine. They're done in my eyes.
So the one thing that I know they have hinted at is that Starfield is next gen. That is not a current gen game. Period. Like, they're not even releasing a current gen version of it. But what they're doing is, I believe the thing that gives me hope on exactly that is that they haven't showed any footage for it. I'm hoping they haven't showed any footage for it because they don't have anything that they can run the footage, like they can't do the gameplay on right now. And I'm really hoping that means that they're not far enough into it that they did use their old engine to build the fucking game. Like, I'm like, please, for the love of God. And they have Elder Scrolls 6, which is also going to be next gen console, which, I mean,
that's probably like next gen, honestly. Like,
they shouldn't have even announced it.
They shouldn't have.
It's too much hype. What was the best thing about their old way they do it is they'd announce it when it was done and ready to be released. Like, they always did that. That was their MO for like Fallout 3. They did that as their MMO. They did it for Fallout 4. Like, how many years was that? We did all those videos, Peter, where it was like what we want to see in Fallout 4, and they didn't announce it until it was like, okay, it's coming out this year. It's done. Like, we're releasing it this year. We're just doing some touch ups on it. I think that is best, but I am also thinking that they won't announce it until next gen comes out. Like, they won't announce things like they won't go gameplay footage or anything of Starfield until the console's out. Because they don't release a ton of games per console or per generation of console. They usually release 1 or 2 games per generation of console.
I'm starting to think Starfield is another Anthem where, like BioWare, they're like, we have an idea, we'll make a trailer for it and show it everyone, and we'll figure it out as we go. You know?
It's not how
maybe it'll buff out. And they really have no idea what they're making. They don't have a game plan. They don't really have a roadmap. I don't think they know what they're doing with Starfield.
Well, and now Obsidian fucking put fire on their ass with that new RPG they announced with Avowed.
Yeah, the Skyrim looking game. That looks good. That looks really good.
They've also Obsidian has, you have modders right now that are doing the New Vegas, Fallout 4 New Vegas and Fallout 4 Washington for like the Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas remakes. And they're not out yet. They look pretty. They're using the same graphics, the same engine as Fallout 4, so it actually looks pretty good compared to their original games. But I'm sure I would have no doubt it'd be smart almost for Bethesda to sell the rights to Obsidian or just contract them again to make the next Fallout game. Because Bethesda bought the Fallout rights from the original companies that made Fallout 1 and 2 and Brotherhood of Steel and all that. And those games are sick. And Fallout 3 basically took the concepts behind Fallout 1 and 2 and made it first person, which is cool. Then New Vegas was brought out, and they added a few more mechanics, like the more customization to ammunition and stuff like that. They added more RPG elements, and they added the whole if you're wearing a certain outfit, you could sneak into a sneak into a group's camp or something, as long as you didn't get seen very much. And then you had Fallout 4, and then they kind of ruined that, but they upped the combat system heavily. Like the combat in Fallout 4, no one can deny. There's not a single Fallout fan that can say that the combat in Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 was better than Fallout 4.
Yeah.
They continued to up that in Fallout 76. Like the combat system was beautiful in Fallout 76. The guns looked pretty good. The VATS sucked because we talked about that, how it was horrible. But in the end, I'm just hoping, like, I think they should just give it to Obsidian. Obsidian is RPG kings right now. Like, they are running the RPG world with regards to console games.
They are the kings on top of the world.
They are, and it's funny how they start out smaller. Like, Fallout 4, they had, I think it was like 8 years to work on it, and Fallout New Vegas, which is why they always laugh at this. Fallout New Vegas was made in, I think it was like 7 months or something like that.
What? Really?
It was super buggy, so you can kind of tell, but
they made it
still a fantastic game.
Yeah, they made it. It was maybe not 7 months, but it was super short in comparison to any other Fallout game that was ever made. They basically, Bethesda's like, here's your timeline, get it done. I just in one of the Fallout groups, that's like the number one comment that comes up every single time. I've never seen a bigger group that's so divided.
18 months? Wow.
Yeah. And they released one of the best Fallout games recently. Like, I still think Fallout 3 is better, but that's because I really enjoyed the world they had and the characters. But, I don't know. I just think Obsidian's where it's at right now. I'm super excited for Avowed, and I expect that Obsidian will take their time and really make a good game out of it. Because that seems to be what they do. They try to create good games. That one, I bet you Fallout New Vegas would have been even better if they had more time to work on it, if they were able to really make it a crisp game. But they were also young at that point. Obsidian was a pretty young company when they made Fallout New Vegas, I believe.
Not that young, because I mean they'd still been around since like at least 2004 when they made Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Fair enough, yeah. Which is also a great game.
I prefer it than the first one, but that's because I played it first. So
I also like the updated graphics. the first one is, I went and played it on that because they have all those games, you can play them on Xbox. It's tough. I love the story and I love the game, but it's so hard to get through because the combat is just so bad at this point.
I think the combat's fine. I just love like the character animations, like the ones that they use over and over again during conversations where it's like you're mean to someone and they start being like, oh god, I'm scared now, please don't.
I loved that generation of making games because everything was like shapes. So it was like you could clearly see something was made from a triangle. You could see something was clearly made from something. It was like, did you guys ever play the old Turok Evolution games or whatever?
No, I didn't play.
Those were hilarious. The lizard people in that game were literally rectangles with triangle heads on them, and they'd have guns and they'd just like shoot you, and it was just hilarious. I loved everything about it.
Characters from GoldenEye where it's just like a polygon with a fucking JPEG plastered over it.
Oh man, that was the best. That was honestly
at
the
the
best.
time. People were like, yes,
that's Pierce Brosnan. That's him.
There should be someone that makes like a game with that kind of graphic design, but it runs smooth. Like all the game mechanics are super smooth, like top tier generation. But the graphics are
like that at this point on a PC.
Yeah, true.
You can do anything on PC.
Oh, PC is great. Yeah, that's fun. That was fuck.
Well, guys, I think that's it for our podcast. We should probably deal with this random that's invaded our call. I don't know who he is, but
I hate him.
I know.
Beat him up.
Big fan, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, a fan hacked in. Oh shit, we better deal with this guy.
Hey, welcome to the call. How are you doing there, caller?
No, not bad, thanks. I have a question for Eric.
Yeah.
How do you do it, man? You're such an inspiration out there. to the rest of us. I just, how do you wake up every day and just keep being you?
There's people like you that just get me through, caller.
Oh, that was great.
Well,
Thanks for calling in.
I think I've ever won. Hey, big fan of the show. Thanks, guys.
Oh, what a good ending.
Well, if you guys want to call in to Live Connect, you can't actually do that. That's a joke, to be clear. But don't try, please.
You can call. Here, let me just get Peter's phone number. You can call.
We're ending right now. We stream 5 days a week. Please tune in for more. Join the Discord. Goodbye.